Alright, so I thought I got an hour till I'm back on the Smoky Mountain 1000. Thought it was a good time to do a review, at least an early review, kind of a comparison between my previous tires, the Shinko 804 805s and the Motor Tractionator Adventure. So the Shinko actually wasn't bad. I hear lots of negative reviews on the Shinko, but I really like the tire. It's really just got, in my mind, two fatal flaws. One is its duration, although that can be said for a lot of tires. Like I was looking at the new Trail Max Raid and thinking, if it's anything even remotely close like the Trail Max Mission, it'll get big miles. But looking at Kyle Bradshaw's review, I mean, he's guessing about 3,000, which is really about what I got out of the Shinko. In fact, I had the Anarchy Adventure, which came on the bike OEM, and that was actually an amazing tire. I tackled some stuff off-road and stream crossings. Okay, so when it got a little sandy, it was really hard. But I tackled stuff by accident. I didn't mean to tackle as challenging as it was, because it was like my first day back after having my hip replaced. And I was really impressed. And in the twisties, man, like I was on Blood Mountain, scraping pegs, and okay, I wasn't scraping pegs, but as it turned out, I don't even know if you can scrape pegs in this. I think you'll scrape the panniers first. But it was really an amazing tire on road, and could do quite a bit off-road. But that's not what I was looking for. I was looking for a much more off-road focused tire. So I went with the Shinko now, because I was doing a course with Brett Tax, and it was all mud, and so I quickly got familiar with it on the way there, because I took the scenic route, taking the twisties all the way down to Dahlonega, and it was brilliant. When you got really far leaned over, you could feel a bit of a vibration. You'd be like boom, 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 boom. Sound like Trump, bing bong, bing bong. Anyways, you could feel a little bit of vibration, but it stuck. So it was pretty grippy, and that's probably why it only got 3,000 miles. So that was one fatal flaw. And the other one was, it was pretty good in the mud, except it had a lot of lateral movement. So if you look at the tread of the tire, there's no offset block anywhere on the tire. It's just, like one clean line all the way through. And that clean line provides good forward traction. It's got good knobs, but it slides all over the place. So I was going up like sideways, or going up a hill that was at an incline, but I had to go up kind of sideways, diagonally. And it was just basically I was riding sideways, so I was going up the mountain like that, and so that wasn't ideal. And then a couple of times where I was like going in a valley and then coming up, and it was at an incline as well, but I was going straight, and the incline was like that. It was it would basically hit the bottom of the sort of hill or whatever, and when the suspension would depress, then all of a sudden it would slide out, and a couple of times it slid out so quickly I was just on my face before I knew it. So that wasn't bad. By the way, I have to say, in regards to the Anarchy Adventure, I hear lots of people saying, oh, I got 9,000, 10,000 miles. I mean, maybe it's because it's OEM, but when I looked, there was no code saying that was like a specific OEM Anarchy Adventure, made to spec, basically made really, really cheap. So I think it was actually a normal Anarchy Adventure. I'm sure YouTube professor will correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But I only got 2,800 miles out of that tire. And the Anarchy, the Shinko, I got a little over 3,000. I think it was like 3,200, which, you know, isn't that bad. I'm changing my own tires now, so I can, you know, just choose whatever tire I want, opposed to what my BMW dealer tells me that they offer. But really low mileage. Now, from what I hear on the motors, it's supposed to get somewhere in the region of 5,000 to 6,000 miles. Now, I've never in my life, the Shinko is actually the most mileage I've ever gotten out of any tire on any sort of bike. I always sort of need to replace them at 3,000 no matter what, and so it wasn't bad. But those two issues caused me to look elsewhere, and I always wanted to try the Tractionator Adventure. It just looks so aggressive, and since I'm fairly new to ADV, you know, what I really want a tire for is in the dirt and the mud and sandy stream crossing, stuff like that, where I really need it. Yeah, same thing with my controls. All my controls are set up for off-road. They're not as comfortable on-road, but you know, when it's really challenging, I want my controls not to be an issue. And the same thing with the tires. Like yesterday, I was going down a pretty steep hill, you know, lots of mud, and I was just amazed at how planted they are. I don't mind the bike moving around a bit, but I could immediately tell that it was moving around less than with the Shinko, especially that lateral movement. Like last weekend when I was out here in the Smokies, actually this is Pisgah National Forest, but close enough. It had rained at about 10 for an hour, or at least that's what the forecast said, and I got there around 1. And so there was a lot of wet leaves, and there was a lot of mud, and I was sitting down, and there was a bit of an erosion, and the whole bike just slid sideways, and there was a cliff on this side, so you know, I almost had to change my pants. That is just not confidence inspiring. Now, guys trying to go. I don't know how much more visible I can be. Big lights, you know, yellow lights or amber lights, everything. I mean, come on. Anyways, yeah, that's not confidence inspiring, especially with the cliff dance. So I slapped on the Tractionators. They were actually easy to put on too. They were easier to put on than the Shinko. Now, I've heard how hard they are to put on, just because of the really hard sidewall, which is great for like avoiding punctures, especially on, you know, big adventure bikes, with like when you're riding places like lots of embedded rocks like we have here. And I have to say, I was pretty impressed. How easy they were. The only caveat is, and I don't know how much of a difference this made, but I forgot to put the Shinkos in the sun, whereas the Tractionators, I put them out at like 9 and started changing the tire at like, I don't know, 2 or 3. So they were out there, and I flipped them, and so they were out there for quite some time. But they were literally, it took about, obviously there's a lot of prep time, you know, getting everything off the bike, and taking the old tires off, and I tried to do that manually this time with just those small little Bead Pro bead breaker tire irons. So I tried that. I actually could almost get the first one off. I think I probably just needed to use my knee to push it off once I had it mostly off the rim. I think it's more of a technique thing, but there was just no chance in hell of getting that rear tire off. Absolutely no chance in hell. And I probably should have left them out in the sun. So, but you know, that's I guess similar to a situation on the trail, right? You're not going to just take them off and sit them in the sun. But I couldn't get it off. So anyway, so when I put the Tractionators on the Nomar tire changer, it took 5 minutes to get them on and get the bead set. And then it was just putting some air in them, balancing them. They were actually really easy to balance too. And putting everything back together again. So I mean, overall, the whole thing, it's faster than last time, but it did take me a lot of time. It was like 4 hours total between taking it off, getting the tires off, actually a little bit more, putting everything back on, putting everything back together again. So the only thing that the big difference I've noticed, obviously, is off-road. I mean, it's in a much more aggressive knobby. It's got those big offset knobs, which make a big difference. And we'll see about the mileage. I'll put another review after the mileage. There's actually surprisingly few reviews of these tires on the GS. I don't know why. There was a couple, but it's very few and far between. Same thing with the Shinko. That's the only reason I'm putting up. I don't usually put tire reviews up, but I was looking for one and thought, come on, there must be so many people using these tires. So I thought I'd put one up. So off-road so far great. I had a stream crossing yesterday. I did well, there was two, but I did walk it, and it was pretty solid. It wasn't, you know, loose bottom, so maybe that's not a good example, but it was a piece of cake. As I said, there was mud on a steep incline. Yeah, you could feel it moving around a tiny bit, but it was kind of the squirming that you would expect rather than the bike sliding off the trail. And then, turn coming up. And then on road, they're definitely not as good as the Shinkos on road. I mean, you can barely tell you're on a knobby with the Shinkos. Of course you can tell, so when you get it leaned over, you can, although that went away, you can feel the knobs vibrating. That did go away as the tire got worn down, I think probably for obvious reasons. But they're not as confidence inspiring on the road. I mean, I had the Shinkos last weekend and the weekend before, ripping it at the tail of the Dragon. It was great fun. Yeah, I held back a bit because they're knobbies, but you can really still push it pretty good. I mean, I would say probably 70-80%. What's going on here? Yeah, best not to use turn signal. And on road, these are actually pretty good too. I haven't, because I just put them on a couple days ago, I haven't been to the tail of the Dragon. I was at the Trail Hollow Sky, but it was so busy. I've never seen it like that. It was so busy. So I haven't really pushed it hard in the twisties yet. So we'll see. But we've had plenty of twisties on this trip, right? And they've been solid. What I do notice is when you're braking hard, it gets a little squirrely in the front. Not so much that you really feel like you need to back off, but you can feel it moving around. And you know, with how deep those knobs are, and they're much deeper than pretty much any knobby that will fit a big bike like the GSA. It's fine. I also noticed that on the motorway, when you're hitting like imperfections in the road, the bike does tend to wander a little bit. It's got that little like wavy feeling. The bike's like I wouldn't say it feels unstable, because it's never caused me to feel like, okay, I gotta back off at all. You just keep on going and the bike moves around a little bit. It's definitely visible for somebody looking at it. But that's really quite a small price to pay for the traction you get off-road, in my mind. Obviously, if you're not going off-road, it's probably a terrible tire, and there's much better options. But I was a bit concerned about how much I would have to compromise with. I think it's a 70/30 tire, and how it would change the feel of the bike. But really, I couldn't be happier. So we'll see how they go. I'm sure I'll get some more challenging terrain. But I'm doing the Smoky Mountain 1000 on section 5, and haven't run into anything that was really coming close to. I don't know, it's a weird place. There was nothing really that came close to I think reaching the limits of the tire. It just handled everything perfectly. So very, very happy, and easy to put on, at least with the tire changer. No idea how hard it would be otherwise, but I really don't think it'd be that hard to put on. I don't know where all those complaints are coming from. The pressures are lowered. I noticed that. So front max is 35, rear max is 36, whereas the Shinko's was 41 and 41, I believe. But they got these self-sharpening lugs, the knobs, and then apparently it's a very hard rubber. Okay, I know it's not actually made of rubber, although there is more rubber in these than on most tires. And apparently that adds to the longevity. So it won't take me long to wear through them. So I'm sure I'll be able to review them how they've been as I either replace them with another pair or try something else. To be honest, at this point, I think I would just, with how impressed I've been, I think I'm just going to slap another pair on. Eventually, I'd like to be able to use something like a Trail Max Mission, something that's less compromised in the corners, longer mileage, but when you're in the mud, especially that like Georgia clay, and you're on roads like the Bucktown Road in the southern part of the SM 500 or SM 1000, like that's going to make life harder for sure. It's going to make life harder, and that's okay, because the other benefits you get, as long as you've got a lot of skill. So yeah, we'll see. But that's what I'd like to get to. But definitely not there. Erring on the side of caution, and got these big knobbies. Plus, they look pretty badass on the thing too. But that's my review. Hopefully it helped you make a decision. Hopefully it counters actually some of the just consistently negative reviews I see of the Shinko 805, 804. And that's it. Hope it was helpful. Bye.